Hello, everyone, and welcome to a tier maker, NBA style. Yes, we're getting into NBA content. It's going to be fun, so stay tuned. Going to be plenty of NBA content here on the BenchWire channel. But I'm joined by Justin, and we're going to have a great little video in store. We're going to get into it, do top 10, top 20, top 25, top 30, overall the top 30 NBA players in the league, and we're going to have some honorable mentions as well. How we doing today, Justin? How we doing?
I'm doing great. Since that football season's over, we could talk some hoops. I love hoops.
Hoops.
That's my favorite sport. Yeah, man. So I'm excited. New content coming, but we're gonna expound our NBA knowledge, our basketball knowledge with you guys. So we're looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And no way to better start a new content with a tier list, a tier maker, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna get right into it. It's gonna be fun.
We'll get into some heated arguments too. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be like first take. All right.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh yeah. All right. So the first player, right off the bat, Mr. LeBron James. Personally, I have him in the top 10. Where would you rank
I see LeBron James. He is definitely in the mix for top 10. If we're gonna put him in the top 10, I have him towards the end of the top 10, and maybe towards the beginning of a top 20, like 11. I see him somewhere between like a 9 and 11, personally. At this
him?
point, at this point in his career, we're not talking about all time. Because if
Yes,
it's all
yes.
time, then you have to put him number one. But as of right now, I still think he's around number 10. So I could live with him being top 10 for
If
sure.
we if
You
we
can put
have
him
to
in
move
there.
him out of the conversation, we will see by the end of the video. We're gonna readjust it in order. But right now, I have him as a top 10 player. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
we're gonna
More towards
we're
the
gonna
end, but
put
we'll
him there.
readjust that. Yeah.
We're gonna put him there. All right. Our next candidate, Mr. Steph Curry. Personally, I have him in the top 10. How about you?
Wardell, Steph, Chef. Look at Curry, man. He's a top 10 player.
Yeah,
Yes, he is.
easy. He changed
Yes,
the
he's top
game.
10. The
This
greatest
3-point
shooter
shooting.
in the history of the game.
Exactly.
He's averaging high 20s. He's the engine of that offense. Everything runs through him. And yeah, man, he's elite and the best shooter I ever seen. It makes it so effortless. Yes,
Next
sir.
player, one of your favorite players, Kevin Durant. Where do you have him?
Kevin Durant.
Where do you have him?
He's still top 10. He's
No,
top
I
10 in
do
my
too.
opinion.
I do
Yeah,
too.
he's top 10.
Boom.
I I
They're
still
getting
think
older. These guys are
he's
getting
getting
on the older side, but
these guys, those three right there are the faces of the league. So yeah, it's fitting that they're the first three to go off. But yeah, they're still top 10 in my estimation.
now we got Kawhi Leonard. I think he could be
Mm,
top 10 or top 20. It's hard because it's going to depend on other players we put in this tier. But I would put him in the top 10 for now. And if we have to move him, then I would get rid of him and put him in top 20. But I think he's a top 10 player when healthy.
yeah, just looking at the other guys, I would put him top 10 as well. Just because of the season he's having is helping because he's not hurt, number one. And number two, he's like really efficient from the field right now. He's shooting ridiculous shooting splits from the foul line, from the field, and from 3 point. So yeah, he's playing like a top 10 player right now. On the
Next, the face of the franchise for the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis. I think he's top 10. You know, he's always a captain for every All-Star game, especially now they won in the East. You know, he's been balling all year. I got to put Giannis
Mhm.
top 10.
Giannis is easily top 10. I think he's top three in MVP voting right now, or top five in MVP voting, rather. He's always in that MVP conversation. Um, he is the Bucks all around one of the best all around players in the NBA. He can go to the paint, drive at will. Great defender. He could do everything except really be effective from the 3 point range. But yeah, man, he has a ring. He's done it all in this league, so you got to give him respect.
I have no idea who the next
That
player
that
is.
that looks like Jokic.
Jokic? Okay, because his head's
Yeah,
cut off. All right,
yeah.
well, easily top 10. He's always in the MVP conversation every year. Just came off a finals win with his team and was the
Mhm.
finals MVP. And he's probably going to be making another run for another title this year. So I'm going to put him in the top 10 easily.
He's number one. He's the best player in the league. He's my number one player in the league. Just the fact that he controls so much attention on the offense, efficient, gets to a spot, has a nice little floater, mid range. He can shoot the three. His passing's elite. He's a top 5 passer for being a center in the league. He could do it all.
Next up, Mr. Joel the Process Embiid. I have him as a top 10 player because the impact he has on the game. Right now, the Sixers, they're missing him. They're missing him a lot. I forget what their record is without him, but it's a losing record. And he's one of the best centers in the league by far, right up there with Jokic. I'm going to put him top 10.
Joel's a top 5 player in the league, in my estimation. Like you said, the Sixers are at best a play-in team without him. And yeah, he really hit a lot of holes on that Sixers team. That wasn't obvious. That's how gifted he is. One of the best, most skillful offensive players in the post, mid post, can do it all. He has his own dribble, nice mid range, and he's effective defensively. A great rim protector. Could do it all. He was MVP favorite. He won MVP last year. The only thing that's missing is that ring. It's the only thing he needs. He needs to get that ring. So he's not the best player. I still have him as top 5 though, just from pure talent, pure skill, and impact he has on his team.
Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics. I have him as a top 10 player. He is the face of the franchise for the Celtics, and got the Celtics to conference finals last year, and the year before that got them to the finals. Couldn't get the job done, but all in all, he's one of the best players in this league, and I have him considered as top 10.
Yeah, he's top 10. Leading. He's an underrated MVP candidate right now. He's averaging like 27 points a game, 8 rebounds, and he's on a really good team. But he's the best player. That's what the coaches they dial up on Tatum. High IQ, underrated defender. He's really really good, and yeah, he's leading the best team in the league right now. Yeah, he's easily top 10 for sure.
Next up on this list, another face of the franchise for his team, Luka Doncic. I have him as a top 10 player, and he's a unicorn, man. Like, he could do it all, and the Dallas Mavericks, they wouldn't be anything without him, so I have him as top 10.
Yeah, he's top 10 for sure, just on offensive impact alone. He had what he had like a 70-point game earlier this year. Absolutely ridiculous. He did everything he could. Like the way he finds guys too, he knows where the open guy is always and gets it to him in a hurry and in the pocket where they like to shoot it from. Ridiculous. He can make his own shot off of step backs. Yeah, he's easily top 10 as far as I'm concerned. He's making the Mavericks much better than what they are.
Next up, we got Mr. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's a top 10 player. I think he is. He's playing like it, and he's been a baller all year, and Thunder's one of the best teams right now in the league, so I have him as top 10.
He's top 10, top 3 in MVP voting right now. He's averaging over 30 points a game, and I think around 10 assists. I don't have these stats pulled up. But, yeah, the dude's a baller. The dude's one of the best point guards in the league. I think he's number 2 right behind Mr. Luka Doncic. And, yeah, top 10, and he's an MVP candidate right now too.
So right there, that fills up the top 10. We have all 10 spots filled. If we need to take someone out, we can. If we need to put someone else in that deserves it more, we can. But right now, that's the top 10, and we'll talk about it when we get there. Next up, we got Mr. Damian Lillard from the Milwaukee Bucks. He balled out this past weekend, All-Star Weekend, won a 3-point contest, was shooting all these half-court shots and all that. I feel like he's deserving of top 10 category. I don't know who to get rid of, though, but, like, he's one of the most impactful players in the league right now, and I don't know. I don't know who we would get rid of. What do you think? Do you think he's a top 10?
He's not top 10.
He's not top 10.
He's top 20, but if we have to let the viewers in our conversation, I tell you, and I think you agree with me, that Mr. Jalen Brunson should be starting over Damian Lillard. It's not a slight at him, but Jalen Brunson's having a better year. Yeah, I would put him in the top 20 because the guys in there are better defenders, have a more impact on their team than Damian Lillard does. Like Damian Lillard on defense is a liability. There's a lot of breakdown clips I watch on him where he loses sight of his man, gets caught looking at the ball, gets beat back door. So I think that he's around the top 20, and I think he'll get pushed down the list as we get into other guys.
All right. Next up, Mr. Ja Morant. Right now he's injured, which is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Prayers up to him. Hopefully he gets healthy and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But Ja Morant, I feel like he could be a top 20, top 25 player. But right now I'll put him in the top 20 because when healthy, he's one of the best in the league by far. So I'm going to put him in the top 20.
Yeah, put him in the top 20 for now. I'm looking at the other names. Yeah, he's a elite talent, uber athletic. Ja Morant, when healthy, is an elite talent. Good facilitator, a little bit underrated facilitator. Athletic, can drive it on anyone, dunk it on anyone when able to. Not afraid to do that. But yeah, I think top 20 is fair.
Next player up on the board, Mr. Devin Booker. Right off the bat, I think he's top 20. Very impactful player for the Suns, for sure. Got his team to the finals before, and, he's a guy that's always making the All-Star team and is very athletic for sure. So I'm going to put him in the top 20.
Agreed. He's top 20. He's top 20 for sure. Devin Booker, scoring machine, great three-point shooter. Yeah, he's averaging like a cool 20 in the mid-20s, like 25, 26 points a game. Shooting efficient, doing his job. Yeah, he's top 20 for sure, no doubt.
Next up, we got Mr. Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. Right off the bat, I think he's top 20. He's one of the most, athletic players in this league, up and coming. And he's still very young, still got raw talent, and he's still developing. I think he's going to move up into that top 10 category eventually. But right now, I have him as a top 20 player in this league.
Yeah, he's top 20 for sure. You have to give credit to the Timberwolves. Timberwolves are the number one seed in the West, and that was a large part of Anthony Edwards. He's really emerging, becoming another candidate for being the face of the league, too. Minnesota got a good one. He's top 20 with top 10 potential.
I agree. Next up, we got Mr. Donovan Mitchell. He's having a hell of a season, and he's scoring a lot of points for them Cavs, and he's got them right at the top of the East right now. So I would have him as a top 20 player. And, potentially, maybe one day he could be a top 10 player. But I would say at this moment right now, he's a top 20 player.
He's top 20 as well. Yeah, the Cavs were on a heater, and the large part was him. They didn't have Darius Garland there to help facilitate, and he took that. He was dishing. He was getting the ball to Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and those guys. And he was also creating his shot, driving to the rim with Euro moves, spins, doing his thing. He's a great player. He's top 20 for sure.
Now we got Jaylen Brown. I think he is a top 20 player. Him and Jason Tatum, one of the best duos in this league. And, they're always at the top of the Eastern Conference. So that's why I got him as top 20.
Yeah. I would put him in top 20 for right now. I want to see how the rest of it shakes out. He might be top. He may move down to top 25. I have to see. But yeah, about Jaylen Brown, really good. I think Tatum and him kind of play off each other. They're two wings. He plays good defense as well. He's high 20s, can dunk. He said the other day he's one of the best contact dunkers in the league. He goes through people. I don't think he's the best of all time at that, but he's not afraid to dunk on Yamit on someone, that's for sure. But yeah, he could create his own shot. He doesn't. He gets exposed. He doesn't have much of a left-hand drive, and in the playoff series with Miami last year, he kind of was neutralized a little bit there. But then again, there's talent there. He can score when he gets to his spots, and he's a good defender too. So. For right now, yeah, I'd say he's right around the top 20, top 20. Definitely not below 25, though. So, yeah, he's around 20 and 25.
Next up, we got Mr. Trae Young,
crazy.
face of the franchise for the Atlanta Hawks. Without him, they would not be a competitive basketball team. So, I think he's a top 20 player.
I think he's top 25 personally because they're underperforming right now. where they should. They have good players like Capella, Bogdanovich, DeJounte Murray, and they're still underperforming. I like his game. He's another guy that can shoot well from the outside. Obviously, can drive, can really good at throwing up lobs to Capella and the big guys. But I just don't think he's a number one on a championship level team. So that's why I'm more so lenient on putting him in top 25.
Jamal Murray is next up on the list. Now, personally, I believe he's a top 25 player. Don't get me wrong, he's really good. The Nuggets wouldn't be as good if they didn't have him. He's been one of the best, duos in the league with Jokic. But I feel like there's better players in the league than him, and that's why he's in the top 25.
I could put him in top 25 as well. Just looking at the collection of names we still have left too, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd rather have him over Trae Young. That might be more of a hot take for me. But I think what he does, he complements Jokic really well, and he can do some of the things that Jamal Murray can do. Some of the things that Trae Young can. He's one of the most underrated, underappreciated talents in the league, in my estimation. I feel him as one of the most underrated. So top 25 is fair, and I think Trae Young is right there with him too in that top 25.
Next up on the list, big man, Mr. Anthony Davis, AD, the Brow. I think he's a top 20 player. When healthy, the Lakers are one of the better teams in the Western Conference, and him and LeBron, been pretty good when they're both on the court together. They've won a finals. They call it the Mickey Mouse, ring and all that. But I think AD, he's one of the best centers in the league. Definitely top 5, top 3 maybe. So I would put him in the top 20.
He's definitely top 20. He's at the top of top 20 when I'm looking at those names there. And he's arguably top 10. You could argue that you could probably flip him and Kawhi Leonard around, in my opinion.
You probably could.
I think you can. So I think he's around 11 and 10.
All right, I'll put him here for now. And then
he's definitely at the top. I'm fine with giving it to Kawhi top 10, but I'm just going to say Anthony Davis right there. Him and LeBron are playing well with each other, like you said. He's been healthy this year too, which has been helping his top 10 case as well as Kawhi Leonard as well. But yeah, he's monster. He's averaging high 20s, rebounding really well, being the rim protector, great at that too. And yeah, he's having a really underrated season. We'll revisit that. I have to think about that if I think he's better than Kawhi right now, but yeah.
Okay. Next up, we got Mr. De'Aaron Fox. I think De'Aaron Fox is a top 20 player. He's been, carrying the Kings the past couple of years now. Got him in the playoffs last year, and Kings have been pretty good. So I think he's a top 20 player.
I think I'm going to put him top 25 as well. I'm not putting him top 20. I'm putting him top 25. I don't seeing the names coming up. I'm just preparing for that. So I'm putting him top 25. But yeah, the dude's underrated. Swipe at the Fox, man. He's good. Good point guard. He's turning the Kings around a little bit with Sabonis. They're doing their thing. He's shooting well from 3, facilitating well. But yeah, the dude's a hooper, that's for sure.
Next up, we got the franchise, Tyrese Maxey. See, I want to put Maxey in the top 20 because I love him. He's a Sixer and all that, but I think he's a top 25 player right now. He could move in the top 20 conversation one day. He's still very young, still uber talented and all that. And with him and Embiid, they're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They just got to get past the second round. Hopefully they could do it if Embiid comes back this year. We'll see. But I think Tyrese Maxey, he's a baller. He's a hooper, and he's getting better each and every year. So right now I have him as top 25.
I think I think he might be top 30. And that kills me because I'm a fan too. But yeah, I think his game's really good. Really good game. He improves every year. I love him on our team. I love him on the Sixers. He's averaging around 26, I think, 26 points per game. His assist numbers are up too and everything. But then again, it just comes to who else is left too. I'm looking at a few guys. So yeah, I have him top 25, top 30, but I love me some Tyrese Maxey. It's not a slight at him at all. It's just the collection of players that are in the league.
Next up, we got Mr. Paul George. I think Paul George is a top 20 player. Clippers are really good right now. I think they're what? Number 3 in the West, I think. They've been really good this year. But Paul George has been healthy. Kawhi Leonard has been healthy. When both of them are on the court, they're a really good team. And I think without him, yeah, the Clippers are not a top 3 team right now in the West. So I got to put Paul George up there in the top 20. He makes the All-Star every year and is one of the best players in the league when healthy. So give me Paul George at top 20.
I don't think he's a top 20 player right now. I don't.
Okay.
I think he's.
Tell me why. Enlighten me.
Well, I'm looking at
everyone else still.
I'm looking at like Bam, Brunson, Butler. I think they're more impactful for their team and what they're doing right now. Like without Butler, the past couple games, Bam has really stepped up and has put the team on the back. He's playing really good ball. Not that I'm saying he's more talented than Paul George, but I'm saying there's a debate there.
All right. I'll move him at the top of the top 25.
Sure.
But we'll see.
We'll revisit it.
We'll revisit this. Bam is next up. Mr. Bam Adebayo, like you said, he's been filling in perfectly without, Jimmy Butler for the Miami Heat. And I think he's a top 5 center in this league. And he's young and he's still balling at this point of his career. And he's only getting better. And the Heat wouldn't be as good without him. So I would say he's a top 20 player.
You say he's top 20?
I
think he's top 25 with on the Paul George tier right there too. Like he's not the best player on the team. That's Jimmy Butler, but like you said, when he's out, he steps up. He's big in playoff time. A little bit limited offensively. He doesn't really have a 3-point game. Can't stretch like some of the top bigs of the league, but he's still a top 5 big man easily. With Butler being there too, and I see Brunson, I see Halliburton coming up, top 25.
All right. You sold me. You convinced me. I'll put him there. LaMelo Ball. This could be an honorable mention candidate.
Could be.
I'm going to put him there. He hasn't been healthy, but when he's healthy, he's in the conversation to be a top 30 player. He's got to stay healthy. He's good, but I wouldn't consider him a top 30 player right now. So I'm going to put him in the honorable mention category.
Respect that. He's been injured. He's been injured the past 2 years. The best ability in any sport is being available, and he hasn't been. So he's a good talent when he's there. Good passer, can create his own shot, and do his thing. He's a creative point guard, crafty. But just can't stay healthy, and you have to kind of dock him for that. So I think honorable mention is pretty fair.
Now, one of my favorite players in the league right now, Mr. Jalen Brunson, New York Knicks, face of the franchise right now. Knicks, I think they're the 3 seed in the East now? They've been balling. And that's because of this guy, Mr. Jalen Brunson from Villanova. I have him as a top 20 player. I think easily he can move in the top 10 conversation when it's all said and done. But right now, there's a lot of players in this league, and he's still only getting better at this point. And I think the Knicks wouldn't be as good if they didn't have him, and he should have been starting in the All-Star game for the Eastern Conference, and shame on the people that voted for the All-Star team. But I think Jalen Brunson, one of the better players in this league, and I think he could move into that top 10 conversation maybe next year possibly. We will see.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's top 20. Putting the Knicks on his back, like I said earlier. Really crafty, really could put himself in good position to score, really efficient from the mid-range. Facilitates well, gets his guys going, gets DiVincenzo going, gets Julius Randle going, Mitch Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, and those guys. And he got good additions with Alec Burks Bojan Bogdanovic coming over in the trade. They're going to be a fun team to watch. They're not the number 3 seed. I believe they're number 4. I believe Milwaukee's number 3, and then Cleveland's 2 right now. So they're top 5 seed. That might, if Milwaukee continues to slip, they might end up a top 3 team. But yeah, a lot of it has to do with Brunson and his leadership too. That's another thing. He's a great leader, great baller, great hooper, can do it all. Yeah, he's a fun player to watch for sure.
We got Jimmy Buckets, or we got emo Jimmy Butler here. I don't know. But, I think he's a top 20 player in the league for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, he's been hurt and injured, but I think he stepped away from the team because of a family matter, but he'll be back soon. But Jimmy Butler, I think he's a top 20 player, especially in the playoffs. Like, you could consider him a top 10 player. Like, he performs in the playoffs and puts a team on his back. Mr. Jimmy Butler, I'm going to put him in the top 20 right now.
I would move him. I would move him right behind AD in the top 20 because I don't see many players better than him. And I'm looking at LeBron. I'm like, would I rather have Jimmy Butler than LeBron right now? Like, here's the thing. Jimmy Butler is like a top 20, 25 player in the regular season. And then when the playoffs come, he's like top 10. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
He finds another gear in the playoffs. He's really figured out like a science, a method. And they're just a flat out dog. The leader of the Miami Heat, focal leader. He's been shooting better from 3 also. Gets to his spots on the floor. Yeah, he's easily top 20 in my opinion.
Mr. DeMar DeRozan from the Chicago Bulls. I don't think he's a top 25. I have him considered a top 30 player. The Bulls want to be good without him. So I think he's a top 30 player. He's a guy that has, kept the Bulls relevant the past few years, but he's not a guy that's going to be a game changer like these other guys in the top 25, but he's still a really great player, and the Bulls are lucky to have him. So I would put him at top 30.
Key word there, the operative word is relevant. He kept him relevant. He still has game left. You have to put respect on his name there. A pure mid-range sniper, one of the best mid-range shots in the entire league. You got to give him respect for that. He's a pretty good defender as well. He's no slouch there. You see, as with time, he's starting to slow down a little bit, but he can still hoop. So you have to give him respect there.
All right, this one's hard for me. Mr. Tyrese Halliburton.
Shouldn't be hard.
I think he is a top 10 player in this league right now. He's been balling, and the Pacers are one of the better teams right now in the East. And without him, they wouldn't be as good. Tyrese Halliburton has been amazing this season, and he was an all-star starter. And I think he should be considered in the top 10 conversation. That means we're going to have to get rid of somebody that's what I think. But right now, I would put him in the top 10.
I have him outside the top 10. I have him in the top 20 because I'm looking at the guards in there. He's not better than Luka. He's not better than Shea right now. So I won't take them out. So I would put him around 12 or 13. If you want to argue who's better than Jimmy Butler, that's fine. I'd be cool with that. If you want to say he's not as good as Jimmy, that's fine as well. Yeah, I have him right behind. I have him right in between where Jimmy Butler and Dame Dollar is right now.
I'm going to leave him there for now, and then when we finalize it, then we'll move it all. We got Mr. Sabonis. Do I think – I don't know. I don't know much about Sabonis. I'm going to put him in the top 30 because I don't know much about him, but he is one of the best players on the Kings, and he's keeping them afloat, keeping them relevant. And without him, they wouldn't be as good, obviously. But I don't know if he's a top 25 player, but I think he's in the top 30 conversation.
It's like I don't know if I'd rather have him or Bam though, and we have Bam top 25, and it's close. I feel like they're on the same tier, so I feel kind of bad putting him top 30, but I think if we're gonna put him top 30, he'd probably be at the top of that. I'd rather have him over DeMar right now. He's underrated. He's very similar playing style to Bam. He takes more threes than Bam does as well. He's a better 3-point shooter there, and he could do things that Bam can. Yeah, dude's underrated though. He was another snub.
Kyrie Irving. He's been in and out of the lineup this year for sure. But when he's on the court, he makes an impact, and the Mavericks are better with him than without him. Kyrie Irving, I don't know. I'm thinking top 25 right now. Thinking top 25. That's where I would put him. He's just amazing when he's on the court. One of the best shooters in the game by far. But I don't know. Like you could say, I could put him in the top 30 if I needed to, but I would put
Okay,
him in the top 25 right now.
who you taking? Who you taking him off then?
Out of the top 25,
Mm-hmm.
I would take off Jamal Murray.
Think
Because
I'd
I think
rather have Jamal
Kyrie makes
Murray.
more of an impact than Jamal Murray.
I don't know. That's tough. I'd be okay doing that.
Did Murray make
I'm
the
just I'm
All-Star
just going
team?
off. No, he
No.
did not.
I think
He did
Maxi's better
not.
right now. I think Maxi's better right now. Mikal Bridges.
Mikhail.
This was a guy that was rumored to get traded over the trade deadline, but didn't. And there's a report now that the Nets want to build a roster around him. I think he is one of the better players in this league, but I don't know if he's a one. I don't think he's a one. I feel like he's one of those players that you have to put as a piece for to build around someone else. So I would consider him a top 30 player, but he's really darn good for sure. But I don't think he's better than anyone we have in the top 25. So I would put him in the top 30.
I like it. You could argue he is top 25, but
You could.
yeah, he's at least top 30 in my opinion. Then he makes the Nets relevant. He is their focal point. You're right on the point on the notion that if you want to compete for a championship, he's number 2 or number 3 on the championship team. Yeah, so he's not going to be the focal point of the Nets rebuild. They're going to have to get a superstar player, a top 10, top 20 player to pair with him. The most impactful thing is he's available. He plays all 82, which you don't see anymore. So you got to give him a lot of respect for that. He's at least a top 30 player.
Now, next up is Darius Garland. I feel like we could put him in honorable mentions. I know he's really good and he complements Donovan Mitchell very well, but I feel like there's other players that are better than him that we have remaining, so I would put him in honorable mentions.
I agree. Yeah, shout out Darius Garland. He's been a little bit hurt this season, a little bit banged up, but yeah, he's good. They split minutes with him and Donovan Mitchell. They both take control of that offense as well. He can facilitate. He's a great 3-point shooter. Can do a little bit of everything. Yeah, honorable mention. Good player.
Next up, we got who's that? Markkanen.
Lauri Markkanen.
I like him. I think he's upcoming player in this league, and he's really good for the Jazz, but I don't think he's a top 30 player just yet. But he could be moving into that conversation. So I would have him as an honorable mention.
I guess with all the names left, yeah, probably is an honorable mention. But dude is you could argue him top 30. Really made strides from 3. Really good there. I feel like with Utah, with Will Hardy coaching, they're really getting the best out of him too. To have him taking more threes, driving, shooting. But yeah, dude's a baller for sure. It's pretty hard doing this because you could argue top 30, but yeah, I think honorable mention's fair.
We got Bradley Beal. He's on the end of his career now, and he's been in and out of the lineup as well for the Suns, but when he's playing, he's pretty darn good, but I just think it's too late for him at this point of his career to be a top 30 player, and he hasn't been amazing this year. But he's still a really good player in this league, and I would have him as an honorable mention.
Yeah, I'd probably put him there right now. Before the season, I'd probably argue for him top 30, but he hasn't really – not because when you play with KD and Devin Booker, you're not going to average the 30 you were with Washington. So if you were expecting that, no, you're not going to get that. Honorable mention just because of injuries, but dude can ball. Don't get it twisted. He can ball. He could score from anywhere. He can pass. He's a great ISO player. He can do a little bit of everything offensively. So honorable mention for right now.
Next up, we got, I think that's Drew Holiday in a Pelicans
It
uniform.
is Drew Holiday. Yeah,
Drew
flashback.
Holiday. See, I feel like you could put him in the top 30 conversation, but then there's some other players here that I would put in top 30 conversation over him. So I would put him as an honorable mention right now, but I think he's at the top of honorable mentions. We could talk about it a little bit, but I think, he's been a game changer for the Celtics. He was a game changer for the Bucks when he was on that team. They won a ring with him, and he is a very important piece to a championship team. And without him, the Bucks probably wouldn't have been a championship team that year.
No,
But
definitely not.
I think he's an honorable mention based on who we have left remaining.
Yeah, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league too. He warrants conversation for top 30. He's also older. He's also getting up there in age a little bit. His offensive numbers are slipping because he's not a featured guy in the offense. He's behind Tatum, Brown. Porzingis gets more looks than him too. And there's also like Derek White. He kind of splits it with. So he's not asked to score, and he does facilitate a little bit more so. So I do think, just from a number standpoint, he's an honorable mention. And like I was saying with marketing, an integral piece in a championship team. Yeah, dude's really underrated. Can do a little bit of everything for a team. So I think he's an honorable mention. Just a lot of it just because of the team he's on.
Zion Williamson. He's not a top 30 player right now. He's an honorable mention. For the number one pick that he's been kind of a bust so far at this stage of his career. Has been able to stay on the court, but this year he's been better. But I don't see him as a top 30 player right now, and it's unfortunate. His career just hasn't panned out the way it was supposed to be, being that number one pick from Duke. But I think, he can easily move into the top 30 conversation if, gets his act together, gets in basketball shape and all that. But, the guys that we have right now in the top 30 are just outperforming him right now, and he has to make some changes, to get in that conversation. Right now, I have him as an honorable mention.
Yeah, I see an open spot for top 30. You're not going to put him there.
I'm not, because I still have one player that I want to put in there and the 4 left remaining.
Okay. I think he's at the top of honorable mentions. I think from a talent standpoint, he's better than all those guys. But
I'll put him
like I
in
said, healthy, a little bit overweight. And all that too. That's kind of documented. But when he's playing, he's a athletic freak. Can do a little bit of everything. Can jump out of the gym. Can get to his spot. Could drive, bulldoze through anyone. He's a pretty decent shooter from the outside. But yeah, I think his career's been riddled by injuries and such. But when he's playing, easily top 30 talent, if not top 20, when he's like really, really gets going and all that. But he never really got going yet. So
we got Mr. Pascal Siakam. Now, you could argue top 30 for this guy. He just got traded to the Pacers, and the Pacers have been really good after acquiring him. And I think, he is a player that is part of a championship team, right? He won with the Raptors back in, what year was that? Like 2019 with Nick Nurse,
yeah.
Kawhi, and the crew. But right now, I don't see him as a top 30 player. I don't. I think he's getting into that conversation. He's been really good this year for sure. But right now, I don't think he's top 30, but he's creeping in there, and I say he's at the top of honorable mentions, and I think he's better than Drew Holiday.
I don't think he's better than Lauri Markkanen personally, but yeah, he's a good player. The Pacers made a trade. He's still fitting in. He's a good fit with Tyrese Halliburton, since Tyrese likes to push the pace. Siakam kind of flourishes off a transition, so they're a good match because Tyrese can advance the ball up the court, off the drive a little bit too. He could advance it up the court that way. And yeah, he's good defensively too. No slouch there. Yeah, I would put him in honorable mentions.
Next up, Mr. Julius Randle from the New York Knicks. I think he's a really good player. I don't have him in my top 30. I think he's an honorable mention. He's an all-star. He's one of the better players in this league, but I just don't see him being better than the players we have right now in the top 30. He's getting older. He's getting up there in age, and he's been injured this season. But all in all, I just don't see him in the top 30 conversation right now, but I have him as an honorable mention.
So I know you're going to put in the top 30 then, but
you might know now.
Yeah, no, this guy's averaging 24 points, shooting 47% from the field. He's a good player, and he's averaging 9 rebounds. He's a good basketball player, right? He does a little bit of he works hard defensively. He grabs boards. He's good player. I think my biggest gripe with him is he tries to be the man too much, and he'll do some things that makes you scratch your head. Like he'll try to take the last shot when it shouldn't be. It should be more Brunson, have the ball in his hands. He'll do stuff like that. Yeah, dude's at the top of honorable mentions right now. I say he's having a better season than Siakam and some of those guys there. He'd probably have a better season than all those guys in the list. He'd probably be at the top of honorable mentions.
Now we're down to 2 final players. First off the board, we got Mr. James Harden. I'm going to put him as a top 30 player. I think he is one of the better players in this league for sure. He is a basketball player of all traits. He's a shooter. He's a facilitator. He could do it all, and you run your offense through him. He's a great point guard for sure. Just hasn't been able to get it done in the postseason. Just hasn't been successful. The Sixers couldn't get the job done there, and he just folds when pressure's high, and has been able to get the job done. I think he's really a talented player for sure. He took on a role last year with Embiid of just being a facilitator and not being more of a scorer. But I think he is, one of the better players in this league. The Clippers are a better team with him, and I think they're right there in the running to being one of the better teams in the Western Conference because of him, and he makes that much of an impact on the court, and I think he is for sure a top 30 player in this league.
I think I would put Julius Randle top 30 and move Harden to honorable mention personally. Kind of, I do have a bias, a sour taste in my mouth for playoff performances. He doesn't perform well in the playoffs, but you were mentioning that he took more of a facilitator role. Well, he has to do that with the Clippers, and he's not averaging the same. He's only averaging 17 and a half, 5 and 8, where Julius Randle was averaging 24 and 9 rebounds. So I think Julius Randle's a top 30 over James Harden right now, and he did get the All-Star nod over Harden. Harden hasn't been an All-Star nod in a couple seasons, and for that reason, I would argue Harden, and Harden as an honorable mention. I put Randle over him for right now, in my opinion. But Harden's he's doing his job though. The Clippers need a facilitator. He's doing that. 8 assists is nothing to slouch at the end of the day. And yeah, he's not going to score much as did in Philly, because Philly, he was the second option and is only 4 points down. So he's still doing his thing.
We'll talk about it. Last up, we got Mr. Jaren Jackson from the Grizzlies. I think he's a really good player in this league, and he's young and up and coming. But right now, I think he's an honorable mention. I don't see him as a top 30 player in this league, but he's one of the better players on the Grizzlies for sure.
Yeah, he's an honorable mention. Offensively, he still needs strides there. He still needs to get better from 3, better off his handle, better off the drives. He's still good. He still averages cool somewhere in the teens, like 15, 16 points. Good player. Someone you love to have. Where he makes up ground is defensively. He's elite. Guard anybody. Good player. But like I said, he's just not as well-rounded as a lot of the guys on this list. So that puts him at an honorable mention.
All right. Now we got to reorder everything. Because right now we got 11 in the top 10. So once we do that,
Yep.
someone's gonna have to get kicked out of the top 30. So
No, everyone's gonna have to get booted down one spot.
yeah, so that means
think.
Harden won't be in the top 30, and
Mm-hmm.
so Harden and Randall won't be in
Yep.
the top 30. And that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. All right. Well, hello everyone. If you got to that in the video, our video kind of corrupted at the end, but this was our final overall top 30 NBA players. So as you see right there, going from top 10, we're going down the list. We got Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Embiid, Tatum, KD, Curry, LeBron James, Shai Gilgeous, and Kawhi Leonard, rounding out your top 10 for the top 10 NBA players. And then the top 20, we have Mr. AD, Tyrese Halliburton, Jimmy Buckets, who is that? Devin Booker. We got Anthony Edwards, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, Dame Lillard, and Ja Morant to finish out your top 20. Top 25, we got Bam Adebayo. We have Paul George. We have Trae Young. We have De'Aaron Fox, and we have Mr. Tyrese the Franchise Maxey. And also to finish the top 30, we have Mr. Kyrie Irving, Jamal Murray, Domantas Sabonis, Mr. Mikal Bridges, and James Harden to finish out the top 30. And then your honorable mentions are as follows. We got DeMar DeRozan, Julius Randle, Lauri Markkanen, Siakam, Zion, Drew Holiday, Darius Garland, LaMelo Ball, Jaren Jackson, and Bradley Beal. So that is your top 30 NBA players tier maker. Justin is not here because I'm in the middle of editing the video, and the video got corrupted, so I was just going to put this in there to get you the finalized top 30 of the NBA tier maker for the top 30. So all in all, if you guys did enjoy this video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel new. We would really appreciate it. Go check out the link tree down below. Go follow our socials, Instagram, TikTok, X. We have it all. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. This video is only going to be on YouTube, so if you're here on YouTube, thank you for the view. Appreciate it. And subscribe for more NBA content on the channel. We'll catch you guys later. BenchWire out.